This is Dr. Charles Zelnick, and I'm here to discuss an efficient ambulatory discharge process for working in the office. I'm the regional MIO at Northern Light Blue Hill Hospital, and I welcome you to my video today. There's a picture of me with my PA Dewan, Marianne Vandiver, in our pink socks getting ready to battle disease. Today we'll take a brief look at order structure and favorites, review how we use patient instructions and handouts, and then go through a recommended process which has been working well for us in the office. When we see a patient, and if you're like me, you're probably never running completely on time, you have to keep moving. So we want to finish today's orders and prescriptions and do the patient instructions and patient education as a priority in order to get the patient out the door and moving through the office. This includes doing communication orders for the return visit, and especially if we need lab work done prior to that visit, using a process to make sure that gets done. When we finish this, we send the patient to the front desk where the patient service representative will make the next appointment. And this is important because we want them to make that appointment in the system before they print the ambulatory summary. This ensures that the patient will have the date and time of the next appointment on the summary when they leave the office and help prevent no-shows. Depending how you're doing on your day, you can finish or save the note for the patient. And then only once the note is signed, we'll show you how to come back and add working diagnoses to easily enter orders for the next visit and get the lab done with the correct date and dates to have return and diagnosis. Let's start with a look at order favorites. I think it's really important to set up your primary care quick orders in a way that works well for you. You can see I've moved up my E&M charges and my follow-up appointments and referrals to the top of the page, and then organized favorites over here on the right-hand side because I'm going to spend 80% of my time probably ordering the same 20 labs or medications. These are organized by test type, so I have all my anemia tests in one folder. I have my diabetes tests in a folder, things that I commonly are going to use every day. And you can set up your own structure. It's also easy to set up prescription folders, and here I've put in all the medications I commonly use for smoking cessation, so they're all with my order sentences all set up and ready to go. You don't have to do all the work yourself. If you know someone else who's set up really nice folders for themselves, you can actually put their name in. Here I'm going to put in Dr. Gutman's name. Since he works in the emergency room, he has a lot of problems that he sees that may be helpful to me. So if I see somebody in the office with Bell's palsy, for example, he's already set up prescription favorites that I can use and not have to set up my own folder. So returning to our M page, we have a patient today, a test patient I'm going to show you, that comes in with a complaint of heartburn and epigastric pain. And that's really the main acute concern that they have. But as you'll see, they have a lot of other problems on their problem list, and we're going to want to figure out a way to address some of those on the return visit so that we're more efficient at the next time. So say I've seen this patient, I've gotten pretty much all the way through the visit, I have a sense of what's going on. I'm going to send them out with a diagnosis of GERD. I may want to give them some instructions. This field is really important because this is the only field of these three text fields to show up in your patient ambulatory summary. So we'll want to put some information in there, and I'll use instructions GERD. So I have these preset for common problems already built. There may be other ways that you use common patient instructions for cold and flu. These are good things to set up. And then we want to do some patient education, and if we've already put this problem on the problem list, we can click on it and the system's going to suggest maybe we want to use a GERD handout, and I've already added that. The last thing I need to do at this point to get the patient out the door is do their prescription. So I'm simply going to go back to my personal folder here, and I have a favorite for omeprazole, and I'll click that and go up to the order page, associate the diagnosis with it, and just go ahead and sign it. So now this patient is ready to leave, and we'll send them up front, but we need to do one more thing before we send them on their way, and that is that we'll need to communicate with our front office when we want them to come back. And in this case, we've looked ahead. This patient needs to come back in 2 months, so we're going to click the follow-up ambulatory appointment in 2 months. And then one of the new things we've added the last few weeks is ambulatory follow-up with lab prior to the next visit. So if I want this patient to have their lab work done, I'm going to click that and sign both of these things. And I can add an association to it and place those orders. And then that patient will be ready to get their follow-up appointments made and included in their discharge summary when they leave the office today. So going back to the M page, you can see that I've now completed all my documentation here. And one of the tricks here is to go ahead and create the office note at this point so that we can go ahead and do orders without actually changing the note, because we didn't assess all these other problems that we're going to be ordering things for the next visit on. So we'll click here and create our note. So now this is our note, and we can continue. We can either save it or we can finish the note at this time if we want to, and then we're going to come back and do orders for the next visit. The advantage of creating your note at this point and either saving it or signing it is that as we go on to set orders for the next visit, we're not going to be adding assessment and plan at this point, but you'll need to either, I would suggest you sign off the note first before we do the next step here. If you don't, and you add additional diagnoses or orders, you may get the dreaded refresh and die error message, which says you can't finish your note without refreshing this, and if you refresh it, all the orders for the next visit are going to come into the note. So sign the note at this point. We'll go ahead and do that. And we're going to edit the note. And sign it. Now here's the good trick for the next visit. We've seen for GERD today. We've completed and signed our note, but we have all these other diagnoses that we're going to address when they come back the next time. So this is the M page. This is not your note. This is just a working desktop that has labs and consult notes and notes that you're scribbling like you're scribbling them on paper, but none of this is actually kept in the system. It's not going to be reviewed. It's not going to be audited by Medicare. It has nothing to do with the patient's record. It's a working space. So it's very easy then to go in here and say, we're going to activate these diagnoses for the next visit: CHF and hypertension and hypothyroidism and diabetes and vitamin B12 deficiency. Now I've added all of the problems that I'm going to need to do my orders efficiently. These are all been marked this visit, even though I did not address any of them except for the GERD at this visit. Because my note has been done and signed, it doesn't matter. I can go into the primary quick orders and use these to set my orders up very quickly. So again, I'm going back into my order favorites here. I have a next visit folder that has a lot of the things that I commonly use. So we'll order the BMP and the thyroid and the B12 for this patient. They have diabetes, so we'll go to the diabetes folder and add these things. Now I've got 6 orders. When I go to the order shopping cart, you can see that all of these have been associated. It's very easy. I can either click through this box here, I can clear them all and add them back as to what I need to have done here. The thyroid is there. The B12 is there. The A1C is due to the diabetes and the lipid profile and the CHF, and then the urine microalbumin. So there I'm ready to go. I've got all my diagnoses. I'm going to go to modify, and We want to do this because we want to set the date for them to all come back in 2 months. We can shift click here to select them all and very quickly add the date to come back on Christmas Eve. Check to see what the outstanding blue boxes are. Go, Bob's your uncle, and we can sign these. When they all have proper diagnoses on them very quick. And then the patient comes back and has all their orders done before they see us, because we alerted our front desk that they need 2 appointments, one for the lab work and then one to see me for the follow-up. I hope this explains the process clearly, and thank you for your attention.